Right, and that's a great point of discussion. And so no, I am not against the vaccines. I give at least one dose of vaccination in my office every day. Where I live, vaccines are mandatory for school. And so I do have some patients that opt in for vaccines, and I'll put them through the vaccine schedule to attend school. I would also say the majority of my patients don't vaccinate and they opt in for homeschooling instead. And but the second part of your question, it's a very important aspect of the vaccine conversation that warrants a lot of discussion. And I would answer it in general that no, people who don't vaccinate, they pose no risk to uh, disease rates or society as a whole. Um, and the number one reason for that is, for the most part, vaccines now don't prevent transmission of infection. They don't prevent the person to person spread of infections. That's true for most vaccines. Now, there are a few exceptions. So let's start with those exceptions. Randy, measles vaccine, as you pointed out, as an example, measles, what would happen if everyone stopped vaccinating against measles? We would probably see measles return. All right, because that is one vaccine that probably does give people immunity from infection and reduces transmission to others. The drawback with the measles vaccine, however, Randy, is it's the vaccine with one of the worst lists of possible side effects. So there is considerable risk when you get an MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella, because you can't get just a plain measles vaccine. And unfortunately, the mumps part of the vaccine barely works. And the rubella part of that vaccine, we don't need anymore because we don't have rubella. But the measles vaccine, you could argue it is helping to keep measles at bay in our society. All right. But as a whole general vaccine conversation, when you look at its entirety, most vaccines don't prevent the risk, don't prevent the spread of a disease. So I feel like you can't argue that everyone needs to follow the entire CDC schedule for the good of everyone else. And let me point out that the vaccines we know don't prevent transmission and don't prevent the spread of infection. We know polio vaccine does not prevent the spread. We know whooping cough vaccine does not reduce transmission. We don't think the flu shot reduces transmission. It probably makes you feel a little less ill, like you found in your anecdotal one person experience. And the same is true for COVID vaccine. That probably does not reduce transmission either. And other vaccines like diphtheria vaccine never reduce transmission. Tetanus vaccine. What else? I mean, you have a whole host of vaccines. You can take them one by one. The chickenpox vaccine probably does not reduce transmission, but that's a little less certain. So there's a lot of cases you could use, Randy, to say that vaccines should never be mandated because most of them don't reduce transmission, nor should we look down on people who choose to opt out of vaccines. They're not hurting society, and they're not increasing the spread of infection. Any disease that we still do see is mainly because that vaccine doesn't reduce transmission, or the disease was totally eradicated, like polio in most countries. So we don't need a vaccine that prevents transmission anymore. When you look at a disease like measles, the number one reason we still see measles outbreaks is because adults have no immunity. All the vaccines that adults got as children, those measles vaccines have worn off. So most adults are susceptible to measles. So even if some kids opt out of a measles vaccine and say those kids are part of an outbreak. So you could argue those unvaccinated kids are helping to spread measles. But the truth is, it's mainly the adults that have no immunity. That's the reservoir for measles infection, where we're seeing it spread around in very small outbreaks, as well as some unvaccinated children. So we can't really ever rid the world of measles like we have mostly rid the world of polio, because the measles vaccine just wears off. So we're always going to have these susceptible adults. So it's a bottom line to me is you can't use that argument to mandate vaccines, because most vaccines don't work that way. All right. And I had another point to that that just slipped my mind, Randy. So maybe I'll jump back in with it. Um, oh, yeah. Probably the number one reason we've seen a lot of these old diseases eradicated is good hygiene, good sanitation, better nutrition, cleaner living. And people really think that vaccines have saved our world from all these infections. But the truth is, it's sanitation and hygiene and healthy living and other advances in medicine and advanced, medical care where we can, treat people when they get severely ill. That's what has primarily saved us from these old-fashioned infections. And then in some cases, vaccines have also played some role in that process as well. So I don't think we'll ever see a return to these diseases becoming scourges and killing everyone left and right, these diseases we vaccinate against, because we have modern medicine. And we're all, more hardy and able to withstand these infections much better now and treat them better now than we could 50 years ago and 100 years ago. So we won't ever return to what people might call the dark ages of medicine, even if we decide to take some vaccines off the market, or we decide to not keep vaccinating against a certain infection. We won't return to the dark ages for those reasons.
If you liked this video, check out the full interview. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you get notified every time a new video is uploaded. Thanks for watching.